This is the Private Officer Beat Radio with Rick McCann at the microphone. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Private Officer International's radio show, the Private Officer Beat Radio, the voice of the frontline protector. I'm Rick McCann, your host, founder, and CEO of Private Officer. And, I was going to say Happy Halloween or Happy Halloween Eve or something like that. Believe it or not, there's still a lot of adults, not me, of course, because I'm a real adult. There's still a lot of adults who look forward to Halloween, and they actually use it as an excuse to accidentally buy their favorite candy, whatever that might be. Mine, of course, is Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And then pretend like they got it for the kids, and they bought too much of it, of course. And they've got plenty left over for days and even weeks after Halloween. Have I done that? Well, all right, yeah, I have. And let's move on with the show. But it is Halloween Eve, and tomorrow, Tuesday, it's Halloween. We're going to talk a little bit about that in today's program. Every year I make it a point to just throw in a few safety tips for officers and for children alike, and so we're gonna do that today on the program. And of course, we've got a lot of other information, news, and details to share with you, including the murder of a security officer who was just 18 years old has been solved. After 44 years, police now know for sure, without any doubts, who did it. We'll tell you all the details coming up in the next segment. I also want to talk a little bit about winter, and actually you caught me reviewing my radio show notes just as we were coming into the program. It's something that I like to do, and many radio show hosts do as well. Even though I've been doing this for a very long time and have a number of different radio programs, and I'm pretty fluid with my way of thinking, Alzheimer's hasn't set in, although some would say it has. My short-term memory, as I get older, I'm starting to see it's not quite as sharp. I still can remember quite well, though. We want to talk about winter and some of the things happening and some of the things that you need to know about to prepare for it, because winter is not coming. It actually is here. Many areas of the U.S. received their first major snowstorm. Here in the North Carolina mountains, Tennessee mountains, we saw snow a few weeks ago and again a few days ago. It wasn't very heavy, but we did have some snow showers, and now some heavier stuff is predicted in the upcoming days. We'll talk a little bit more about that and getting prepared. And of course, I want to talk about a new opportunity. I really do love giving people opportunities. We have started a brand new program at Armour College called Guest Adjunct Instructor. I definitely will be getting to this before the program is over. Two key things I do want to cover before going to our first commercial. First of all, without getting political, without getting too revved up, although I really want to, here in the U.S., we are seeing, well, here in the U.S. and really in other countries as well, we are seeing dramatic protest against Israel. We're seeing dramatic numbers in the thousands. In one particular protest, there were about 4,000 across some major campuses. And when you look at what's happening, you might say, well, that's political, and I'm not going to be too much worried about that. I don't really pay attention to politics. I don't really look at all of this news headline stuff. Anyways, it doesn't affect me. It does affect you if you work in security and law enforcement, as we saw with the BLM protest, in some areas riots that injured many security officers, leaving a number of security officers, including 2 contracted federal security officers, dead. I mentioned this in my recent radio program. Right now, a number of Jewish people here in the U.S. have been murdered just in the last few days. An owner of a warehouse in the southeast was murdered. He was a Jew. Police have a suspect that they're tracking down. They do believe that this was a targeted murder because of his nationality. This is not the first case that we've heard in the U.S. in the last month. We've actually heard several others that were targeted. And as a security officer, many security companies have been called in to patrol and guard temples, the homes of Jewish people, especially those who are wealthy, prominent. And in New York City, there is a whole private security company made up of folks from the Jewish faith who are patrolling. They've been patrolling specific areas of the city for quite some time. They have their own patrol squad, brand new vehicles, and the support of NYPD, of course. And across the country, as this continues to escalate in Israel with Hamas, you will continue to see it escalate not only in other countries, but it's right here on our own turf. As I said over the last few weeks, it is extremely important to acknowledge what's going on. Whether you believe one side or the other, whether you stand with one, it doesn't matter. If you work in this business, security, law enforcement, you're a protector of all. You can't discriminate. And that's why during the BLM protest, police officers who were of color, and I had several friends on the front line, both in Charlotte and elsewhere, they stood true to their calling, but also understood that they had to be fair to all involved. If they weren't protesting, if they weren't creating violence, if they weren't creating destruction, they weren't arrested. And police, in the U.S. right now, there are many Jewish police officers, and they're in the same position that the officers of color were in just a few years ago. And there we have, in the U.S., we're a melting pot. We have all faiths, we have all nationalities, we have all beliefs, and now those wearing the uniform, the badge, they have to put all of that aside, and as they say, justice is blind, and they have to enforce the law, because that's what their job is. That's what they have taken an oath to do, regardless of their belief, their faith, or anything else. And as a security officer, although you may not have taken that oath, you have, in a way, taken the oath when you agreed, when you were hired, to do the job that you were asked to do, to protect life and property. And that's what your job is today, and it's getting harder and harder. And unfortunately, with protests, with the amount of protests that are happening here in the U.S., almost weekly of one type or the other, there is no doubt that security will have no choice but to be involved in protecting that life and property. As we have seen in the BLM protests and riots, as we have seen in other protests nationwide of all sorts, security is always involved. And now with private security on the front line, literally being called to protect more public property, everything from schools to parks to City Hall to the business district, the entertainment district, and more. Security, you're up. You're up. And you've got to gear up, and you've got to be ready. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector, the Private Officer Beat Radio, a production of Private Officer International and Blue Ram Media Group, LLC. Body Armor USA, we've got what it takes to protect you. Whether you're looking for the top quality protective armor or protective clothing, stab-resistant vests or gloves, contact my friend Ben over at Body Armor USA. Give him a call, 516 area code 817-1666. Again, that's area code 516 817-1666. Body Armor USA, we've got what it takes to protect you. No doubt about it. October the 30th, Monday, 2023, the eve of Halloween. And while I love to go into the history of Halloween, we don't have the time, but if you've never done it, never looked it up, it's pretty interesting, and it would be a good read for you if you got a couple of minutes. I mentioned a moment ago about winter and how winter has quite an effect on private security. We have security officers across the country, even in Alaska, Canada, and during this time of year, it's a situation that causes havoc with many security officers, just like it does with any other public safety employee, whether they be in EMS or law enforcement or the fire service. It's always interesting when you're a firefighter and you get a full alarm fire at a building and you're out in sub-freezing weather and all of the water is turning into ice. Yeah, winter wonderland? Not. Winter is definitely beautiful and yet very harmful. And for those of us who work outdoors and can't escape the weather, this time of year, beginning with right now, many states, believe it or not, have already had snow. And as I was watching a segment of On Patrol Live, I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, check it out, it's on cable. They were in Weld County, Colorado. I lived out in Colorado for a short time in the Denver metro. And when I arrived in late September, snow came within that weekend. We have security personnel in Colorado and elsewhere where they begin to see snow in September and doesn't stop until late April. In some cases, we have security officers who work in Canada and Alaska, and they get feet of snow, not inches of snow, and they still have to patrol. They still have to go to work. They still have to get home. They still have to go about their regular schedule, their regular business, just like any police officer, firefighter, or EMS personnel. We have to prepare for the seasons, and we've actually done several training seminars on seasonal work, and we weren't talking about the employees being part-time just for a season, but how we as public safety frontline employees have to prepare for each season. We also talk about another mental health situation that has to do with seasonal. And we may teach about this again because that really plays into the whole winter, summer, fall. It's not the same for everyone. Everyone doesn't feel so happy to be in summer or so happy to be in winter. Security officers have had their share of depression, that was seasonal. And so, yeah, maybe I should put that together again and do another one of those trainings. But we're coming into winter. Snow has already fallen in Montana, Colorado, out in the Midwest, Alaska, in the upper elevations of Tennessee and North Carolina has had a dusting or two, and we're expecting more. And we have to prepare. Not only do we have to prepare ourselves, but our vehicle. Got to make sure it's in tip-top shape. And I'm going to put together a specific training for that. I've done it years ago. I'll put it back together, how to be prepared for the season. And we'll try and get that on the radio program over the next couple of weeks. But it's very important right now for you, if you live any place where the snow touches your ground, your area, before January, prepare now, because it's coming. According to both the National Weather Service as well as the Farmer's Almanac, which I do believe in, and you know, it's pretty fair. It's pretty, not always spot on, but very close often. It says it's going to be a wet, snowy, and cold season for parts of the southeast, parts of the Midwest. Other areas will be cold and wet with rain, and other areas will be warmer than usual, kind of like it is almost every year. El Nino, different types of storm patterns, weather patterns. So yeah, we definitely need to be prepared, and we also need to have our vehicles maintain the right type of tires. You know, I know it costs money. Try and do a little bit at a time and get it done as quickly as possible. I had a question over the weekend about our newsletters. I'm not really sure why this continues to be such an issue. We have stopped delivering our newsletters to many people because we are now on a subscription plan due to the high cost of production. People do not realize what it takes to be able to curate and generate the news. It's not just we slap it together and send it out. We're monitoring the news 24/7, more than 3,000 news sources. $50 a year, I think, is very reasonable for all of the effort and work that we are putting forth. Unfortunately, I know some folks cannot afford it, even though it's only $4 and change per month, and they spend 3 times that much on a pack of cigarettes. But that's neither here nor there. But unfortunately, we have to maintain that subscription model for the time being. If you advertise with our company, if you advertise on our newsletters and websites and so forth, there's no charge to you. If you support us through donations, there's no charge to you. But anyone else who wants to receive that subscription, that newsletter, has to sign up for that subscription. And unfortunately, we don't have any other alternatives. When I come back from our next break, I want to talk about a murder of a security officer that was solved 44 years later. You're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector, produced by Private Officer International, Blue Ram Media Group, LLC. And when I come back, I want to talk about a new publication, a couple of new programs that we have, and a whole lot more.
No pigtails anymore.
Check, please.
David, you okay to drive?
Yeah, I only had a couple drinks. I'm fine.
Come on.
Keys can be a weapon. A few drinks can make you a killer.
Sunnyvale, California, a security officer who was working alone was murdered. The 18-year-old female security officer was working in the lobby of a building when she was attacked and stabbed multiple times. Unfortunately, she succumbed to those wounds. Police investigated the homicide. Year after year, it fell off into the cold case file. Estella Elena Mina was just a young 18-year-old security officer who had not been on the job but for a few weeks when suddenly a man entered the building where she was working. Police don't have all of the exact details of what happened and didn't say the video was available. But on October the 16th, 1979, this young security officer, just doing her job, was brutally attacked, stabbed, and murdered. And while she was taken to a local hospital, remember this was in 79, she didn't make it. For years, police said the suspect's identity went unknown. The few leads that they had fell short of identifying who the suspect was. However, recently, police decided to submit DNA to be retested. DNA that had been sitting around for 44 years. And we're seeing this across the country with technology continuing to advance. That murder cases that have gone unsolved, even after DNA was tested previously, now there are new methods of testing, new forensic science to apply. And so police decided they'd give it a shot. An investigator called the forensic lab and they submitted the DNA that they had. DNA that had been previously tested. And sure enough, there was a hit. 100% certainty that they had identified the murder suspect as Samuel Silva. There was no doubt about it, no more questions. Silva had been living in Colorado previously. But unfortunately, this 1979 homicide, though the case is closed, unfortunately, there's no prosecution. Although murder, they have no time frame for prosecution. It can go on forever and ever. There is no time frame. But in this case, Silva died when he was 47 years old. He had gone from California, Sunnyvale, California, to several states and ended up in Colorado. The DNA positively identified Silva, who had a lengthy criminal record, including sexual assault and other violent crimes. While certain closure was given, unfortunately, justice was not. We have, over the last 2 years, since around toward the end of COVID, we have begun working on cold cases. We've sent out emails to law enforcement. We've sent out emails to our database. We've asked folks to get involved. 2 people have. And we have taken on some of the more current cases. Over 200 unsolved 206, I believe it was, unsolved security officer murders that are just sitting there. Security officer murders less than 20 years old, some within the last couple of years still unsolved. It's not that police are not putting forth the effort, because I believe that they are. It's just that they don't have the manpower, or they don't have the leads, they don't have any additional evidence, maybe no DNA. This is why I preach that security officers must wear body cameras, must have cameras, dash cams in their patrol vehicles, and it must be sent to the cloud so that even if that camera is destroyed, even if that suspect rips off the camera or even steals it, the video is not destroyed. It goes to the cloud and it can be recovered. With so many security officer homicides every year, we have to start paying closer attention. I'm thankful that a detective in Sunnyvale, California, took it upon himself or herself to say, hey, technology is much better today than it was 40, 50, 20 years ago. And I've seen a number of cases in recent years solved that seem to be unsolvable. And if you watch some of these crime dramas on cable TV, they show you similar cases. If you want to get involved, contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com.
Are you looking for the finest private security officer training in the Charlotte metropolitan area? Do you need PPS qualifications in armed or unarmed training? Or maybe you're over there across the line in South Carolina and you need the SLED training. Well, we've got the right training at the right time for you. Premier Training Academy, located at 5624 Executive Center Drive, Suite 142 in metropolitan Charlotte, North Carolina. Give them a call today, 704-806-4933. They also offer firearms training, personal protection, first aid and CPR, and so much more. Call John at 704-806-4933.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove. You told me not to do drugs. You told me not to drink and drive. You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
We do have some breaking news for you. This coming into our office just in the last half hour. Washington, D.C. police is reporting that a 13-year-old boy attempted to carjack a security officer and he has been shot and killed. Police in Washington, D.C. say the security officer was a federal security officer, although it doesn't differentiate whether it was a contract or a proprietary security officer. Armed security officers in Washington, D.C. are also special private police officers with fully sworn police authority in the District of Columbia. According to police, the victim of the carjacking is described to be off duty at the time. He was parked outside of his workplace waiting to go inside. This occurred in the 600 block of D Street Northwest, across from 7th Street in the Penn Quarter area, according to Metropolitan Police. The 13-year-old was taken to the hospital in critical condition. This occurred Sunday. He has since died from his injuries. According to an initial investigation, the off-duty federal security officer was sitting in his vehicle when two juveniles demanded that he get out. Police said that one of the juveniles kept reaching into his waistband as if he had a handgun. When the security officer got out of the car, he shot the suspect, who continued reaching into his waistband. The other juvenile ran away from the area. Police have not indicated if that person has been taken into custody. Police also said the carjacking victim, the security officer, was about to go into his workplace when this occurred. The firearm was legally owned. The security officer is cooperating with the investigation into the death of the 13-year-old. Police are also searching for the second suspect. So there you go. That person at that time had not been apprehended. The scene of the shooting is just a few blocks away from the Capitol and also from the Capital One Arena where the Washington Wizards were playing their season home opener. According to statistics from the D.C. police, there have been 821 carjackings so far this year in D.C. 821. Of the 134 people arrested so far for the carjackings, 84 of them were juveniles. According to police, there was no injuries of the security officer, and the investigation remains open. At Armour College and Private Officer International, we have a number of new programs and ventures that we have become involved in, and we're going to give you the opportunity to also be involved and to financially be rewarded. One of our latest programs at Armour College is called Guest Adjunct Instructor. And what that is we are asking you to be an instructor for a certain topic or program, and the way that it works is pretty simple. If you are an instructor in any area, we invite you to either teach that area, and one example is someone is pretty informed instructor in cybersecurity as it relates to investigations and how you can search people and get into different areas of cyber security, and he's put together a course, and it's an introduction course, 15 weeks. You will be able to lead this course. You can write the syllabus, the curricula. You can teach it online. We can even arrange for it to be done in person in a seminar format, and you'll be paid. You'll be paid a percentage, the higher percentage of the revenues generated from that course. We'll market it, we'll advertise it, we'll talk about it, we'll get the information out, we'll schedule it on our own online school or in a seminar format, and then you teach it and you profit from it. If you're interested, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Now this is for Armour College. We'll forward that over to them. We just want to give you one point of contact, one POC, so that you're not chasing a bunch of different email addresses. helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Tell us the subject that you'd like to teach. Give us a little insight as to the material or at least a syllabus that you plan on using. We'll call you, we'll get it taken care of, we'll schedule it, and maybe you can start making some good part-time income. I think this is a great opportunity for people who have some skills in teaching and people who know how to put together a course. It may not be great for the average person who's never done it, but then again, you might be a whiz at it. It might be right up your alley, as I say. So take a chance, send us email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Another area that we really want you to get involved in, and like I've said over and over again on the program and in public and online and so forth, my goal has always been to help others. And we have the opportunities to help you to start your own business. If you are interested in starting a school, if you are interested in starting a security company, we want to hear from you and maybe we'll invest in you. We are looking right now for schools that are already open or security companies that are already open and profitable, must have been open for at least 2 years. Contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. The other opportunity that we're going to give you is that we are putting together a real-time crime center. If you have any background or knowledge in electronic security, if you've ever owned an alarm company, we'd like to hear from you too. helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We have also begun working with a number of companies to bring training to them. And one of the cool things that I have been working on for quite a while now is a police academy for high schools to get high school students engaged in public safety. I myself have went through the Explorer program, which was part of the Boy Scouts of America. I became a police cadet on a local police department, and I worked my way. I went into the military, worked my way back into being a reserve officer. We have plenty of opportunities for you to get involved in all sorts of things. Just contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Remember also that you can follow us on twitter.com/privateofficer, Facebook @Private Officer International. Read our breaking news every single day at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back here on the Private Officer Beat Radio. This morning from the Private Officer International newsroom, we just spoke about a teenager who was shot and killed during an attempted carjacking of a security officer. Now we're looking at, in Oklahoma City, a shooting over the weekend of another teenager who attempted to steal a security officer's gun. Police reporting just after midnight. They responded to Southwest 59th Street and South Pennsylvania Avenue, where a person had been shot. According to police, the teenager struggled to steal a security officer's handgun and was shot in the chest by that security officer. Police say the teenager taken to the hospital, but there's no word on his condition. Police said the teenager is also under arrest at this time for attempted armed robbery. Authorities say the teenager is 16 to 17 years old. His name has not been revealed. Police also say this investigation is continuing. A heroic effort coming out of Greenwich, Connecticut. A security officer working at a jewelry store chased a man who had just committed an armed robbery of that store, stealing more than $175,000 of merchandise. Once that suspect fled the jewelry store, the security officer immediately began to pursue the suspect. A detective happened to be driving by in that area, saw the chase, and he also entered that chase, and together security and the detective was able to subdue the suspect. Police have arrested Eduardo Batista Gallardo. He's also charged with threatening to shoot the employees and the security officer. Police said the gun turned out to be a BB gun. He is in custody for first-degree robbery, first-degree larceny, interfering with law enforcement, breach of peace, and 4 counts of threatening. He's being held currently in Connecticut on a $750,000 bond. Very heroic. I don't know if the security officer was armed or unarmed. It doesn't really matter. The fact is, this security officer risked his life to take down this robbery suspect. Happening this weekend at the Georgia State University, which is located right downtown in the heart of Atlanta. 4 people shot, according to police, Atlanta police, Georgia State University police, and investigators responded to the shooting. This occurred in the evening hours. 4 persons are hospitalized. No suspects are in custody at this time. Recently in Bristol, Virginia, Hard Rock Cafe, Hotel, and Casino has begun construction on a brand new resort-style Hard Rock property. Chena Zano, 30, who was living in South Carolina working as a correction officer at the time, was hired to be the security manager for that property. She was recently featured in a news story write-up. She says that she loves Hard Rock, the company, and she plans on making that her career. Another person was shot at a different university over the weekend. This happened in Worcester, Mass. One person was killed during a homecoming weekend activity. Authorities say the suspect not in custody. A security officer at a homeless housing hotel is being accused of assaulting striking workers. LAPD responded and took a report. They have not charged the security officer, but they do have evidence that indeed he did unlawfully assault some of those who was protesting. In Mansfield, Texas, they have recently installed new artificial intelligence. We've talked about this type of scanners, metal detectors, for a number of years. Multiple people can enter that area of the scanner at a time, and it doesn't slow down the process. Mansfield, Texas, recently installed the technology and say so far it's working well. The system, though, is very costly, $800,000. Two men are accusing a security officer at the Vanity nightclub in San Francisco of assault, according to police. The two men were dragged out of the facility. The investigation, police say, is also continuing. In Austin, Texas, they too have joined the many different cities and towns now hiring private security to do police work. A new pilot program brings private security to patrol Republic Square, a very popular destination in the downtown area. Security will be patrolling that park during this pilot program. There's no word as to how many security officers or other details. A security officer shot an armed burglar after a dramatic chase and standoff. This happening in Houston, Texas this past week. A man armed with a large pipe smashed his way into the federal courthouse. Security chased the man. 3 security officers were in foot pursuit of the suspect as he was swinging the pipe. When the suspect reached the TC Energy building on Louisiana Street, he then broke out another window and ran into the building. Federal security officers followed the man and cornered him in a conference room. He still was swinging that pipe. One security officer shot that burglar in the leg, and he is expected to be okay. The North Allegheny, Pennsylvania School Board this past week approved having their own police department. Another school system now beginning that process to establish their own school police department. The district's plan is to hire 1 police chief and 12 police officers and hope to get this up and running. Currently, they have 2 McCann-less city police officers that patrol all the schools, but now they'll soon have their own police force. I told you of a story last week of a Denver security officer who was on patrol. He was a supervisor for a private company on patrol with a trainee. When they were arriving at their client's property, he heard a crash. He knew it was an auto accident and a pop. He went over to where the accident was. A vehicle had hit a pole. He asked if everyone was all right, and suddenly a man ran at him and shot the security officer in the stomach. That security officer is recovering. However, he has mounting medical bills. He tried to submit them to his workers' comp insurance of the employer, but it was denied several times. We got involved, and we immediately found out that because he was not on the property of the client and that he was in the street, the workers' compensation has denied the claim and they will not pay any of his medical bills. We have now begun assisting him. He set up a GoFundMe page, and we've begun assisting him. He was very heroic in everything that he did, and he should be recognized. We're going to be presenting him with a Purple Heart. I think that under the circumstances, Nolan Smith is definitely a hero. Please go to his GoFundMe page and donate. Nolan Smith, Denver, Colorado. He really needs our assistance at this time with these mounting medical bills. Another man has been arrested in Chino, California, this time for attempting to steal an on-duty security officer's handgun. Nicholas Elkins was booked in the West Valley Detention Center in Rancho Cucamonga on charges of attempted assault with a deadly weapon and battery. Police said the on-duty security officer suddenly felt someone behind him. The man attempted to grab the on-duty security officer's handgun. They wrestled. He was taken into custody. 8 people have been arrested on felony charges in Texas for operating as unlicensed security officers. We're in Texas. This is a felony charge. An operation by the Department of Public Safety at a number of locations rounded up 8 suspects. Police say they have been conducting these suspects throughout the year and arresting these unlicensed security people. A security officer in Memphis, Tennessee was shot. This occurred during a bank robbery last week. The security officer is in guarded condition. The robbery occurred at the First Horizon Bank on Wednesday. Police do not have a suspect in custody, but say they are tracking one down. We told you about, through our emails, a bear attacking a security officer. It's a real thing. It really did happen in Aspen, Colorado. A hotel security officer making his patrols heard something or someone in the kitchen area. When he went in to investigate, he was attacked by a bear, thrown to a ground, and then pawed on his back. Video recently was released, and we also released that on our social media. The security officer said he's had a number of burglars throughout the years, but never a bear. The bear escaped, but was later captured and euthanized, according to authorities. A shoplifting in a mall in Valley Stream, New York, went haywire when the suspect decided to open up fire on mall security. Mall security began chasing the suspect when he suddenly turned and fired several rounds. Nobody was injured. However, police are still looking for the suspect. They have some video. A man also shot a security officer. This happening in the Charlotte area. Police said the security officer had minor injuries. In Cleveland, Ohio, a man was shot by a security officer and has now been charged. According to authorities, this happened at a gas station on West 73rd Street. David Lowe pulled out of the gas station, striking one of the security officers with his vehicle after having a confrontation. A second security officer pulled his firearm and shot the man. Police now have arrested that driver on multiple counts. When you see news happening, let us know. Give us heads up. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We're going to take a quick break. When I come back, we'll be talking about Halloween safety and why it's something that you really do need to take serious.
nothing to be scared of. Come on in and sit down. We've got a night of sheer terror for you here on the Private Officer Talk. There are going to be a number of unusual events. There are going to be a number of safety concerns, all in the name of good fun and preparation for a holiday that has been celebrated here in the U.S. for tons and tons of years. But unfortunately, during this week of festivities, there's going to be those who will be out for more than a little bit of fun. And the pranks and the pranksters over the last 20 years have escalated their silly little pranks to serious crimes. So let's start right away with an alert to the parents. As we said in our press release over the weekend, we all know that kids love Halloween. They love to get dressed up. They love to get free candy. They're excited about going out with their friends and knocking on doors and getting all dressed up in costume, and it's to them just an innocent, fun night. It's precious memories for young children across the country. Now, some of your kids already know the safety plan. They already know the drill. They know how to cross the street. They know how to be safe. They know how not to talk with strangers. But tonight we want to go over some common sense ideas and safety tips that will help your young ones to stay safe and to refresh the adults with how you should proceed with this holiday in 2010. First of all, children, teenagers, never go into a stranger's home or even ring their doorbell for treats unless your parents say that it's okay. You know, there are some people in life that just really are not nice to kids. And you may think that your neighbor is a nice guy, but he may be one of those people. So be careful. Always make sure that your mom or dad is within sight of you when you are out trick or treating. Children, be especially careful on this night when you are crossing a street. I know a lot of times when children are out on Halloween, they're all excited about the free candy. They're in groups of friends and they're scattered about the neighborhood and crisscrossing the streets and backyards, and they're not really safety conscious, especially the young ones. But be careful when you're crossing the street. Make sure that you are looking in both directions. Make sure there are no cars coming. And if you have a little sister or little brother, take them by the hand across the street with them. If the street has a stoplight or a crosswalk or some other area where it's normal and safer for people to cross, go there and cross at that point rather than darting out into a dark street where you may get hit abruptly by a speeding vehicle or a driver who does not see you. And if you're an older kid, a young teenager, and you're going out with friends, make sure that your parents know where you are at all times. Make sure that they know where you're going and who you're going out with. Now, I know that teenagers think that they are big and strong and adults, and they can handle it all on their own, and they don't need any guidance. They don't need any safety tips, and that they're all going to be great, safe, secure. But teenagers, make sure that you are communicating with your parents. Everyone's got a cell phone these days. Make sure that you are communicating with your parents where you are and where you're at and who you're with. Well, I'm not going to really need to do that because I'm 14. You have to be careful, more careful on this night than any other. And if you're a teenager that drives and you're taking a bunch of kids to a party, you're going out to enjoy the night, make sure that you have enough gas to get there. It's not cool and it's not safe to run out of gas on a dark street all alone like a bad horror movie. I'm telling you, just like something out of Friday the 13th, you're not going to like the consequences, the surprises that might be waiting for you around that darkened corner. Teenagers, this is especially for you. If your parents have given you a curfew, a time when you're supposed to be home, be home. Be there when they say for you to be there. It's going to build trust between you and them, but it's also meant to keep you safe because the most serious problems, the most serious incidents during Halloween happen after 9 p.m. After most of the young children have scattered, gone home, collected their candy, that's when the older teens and the young adults who should know better don't, and they're out creating mischief, vandalism, terrorizing the neighborhood. So if you're a young teenager, make sure that if you have a curfew, that you adhere to it. It's really for your own safety. Remember, kids, no matter what your age, and this goes, unfortunately, for adults, vandalism is never cool. Throwing eggs at cars and houses is not something to be proud of. It's not cool. Someone has to clean it up, and someone could get injured. If you're throwing eggs at vehicles passing by, the driver could lose control of their vehicle, plow into a tree, another car, a house, be seriously injured, or even killed. You can also face being arrested and punished even as a juvenile. You would have a juvenile police record. So remember, vandalism is never cool. Imagine if someone came in the dark of night and vandalized your home, your vehicle, your property. It's just never the right thing to do. Think about how you'd feel. Think about it if someone did it to you. And I know I shouldn't even have to mention this one, but unfortunately, during Halloween, more than any other time of the year, people think that this is okay, but hurting animals of any type is just never acceptable behavior. Some people use Halloween as an excuse to hurt cats, and that's just wrong. Not only is it illegal to hurt or torture animals and punishable by law, it's just wrong for you to hurt any helpless living thing. So remember that, teenagers, when your friends say, hey, I got this cat, let's hang him by his claws, let's throw him off the roof, no, let's not. Hurting animals is never acceptable behavior. Remember, young children, teenagers alike, we want you to have fun on Halloween, but keep it safe. Have some good, clean fun.
and your parents will trust you for many Halloweens to come. Showing them that you're responsible will give you a feeling of pride and a sense of accomplishment, and adults will be proud of you. Remember those safety tips when you're going out. October 31st, Halloween night. Now, parents, we need to address a few things with you that are pretty common sense, but you may have forgotten or just need a refresher. Unfortunately, things have changed in the last few years, and you may not have even had a passing idea that the first thing that you need to do before you go out Halloween night, and I know this is going to sound bad, but it's just a fact of life these days, you need to get on the internet and check your local state website for sex offenders in your neighborhood. Every state has one. Most areas map them out. They give you the address. You can do a simple internet state sex offender search by zip code and make sure that your children stay away from these houses. In some areas, law enforcement actually round up registered sex offenders and detain them at the police or sheriff's department during this night. While some courts have ruled this to be unlawful detention, it still may be occurring in your neighborhood or not. Sex offenders may be on the prowl. They may not be home where they're supposed to be. So please do a quick internet search for sex offenders in your neighborhood, and you can do this quickly by zip code, and it will map out where they are. And just stay away from those houses. You should also know the route that your kids will be taking if you're not going to be going out with them. If your children are 11, 12, 13, 14, and you just feel that they're just too old to have a babysitter along, and you trust their judgment, map out the route that the kids are going to take so that you are aware of it should something happen. Oh my gosh, it's 10:30. They were supposed to be back here at 9:15. Where are they? Well, what neighborhood did you send them in? Where did they say they were going? I don't know. They went out around here, I guess. I thought they were across the street around the corner. Make sure that you know where your children will be trick-or-treating. Let them know that they have to check in with you every hour, either by calling you on the cell phone, and everybody's got one now. These days, there's no excuse for not having contact with the parent, or by stopping back at your home. Make sure that they know that they're not to deviate from the planned route so that you always know where they are or where they're going to be. So if they say that they're going to Johnston Road, left over on Smith Boulevard to those subdivisions, and coming back down Johnson Road to your home, that is the only route that they should take. They should not deviate just because a few friends come out. Hey, we're going to go over here. Yeah, come on, get in. We're going to go down the street. Come on, we're going to... No. Make sure that your children know that they're not to get in a vehicle with their friends. They're not to deviate from your plans unless they call you and get the okay, the go-ahead. At that point, you'll make a new route, a new mapping, a new plan, so that you still know where they are. You know, trick-or-treating is just not what it used to be. In most cities, it's just simply not safe to let kids walk through the streets by themselves, no matter what their age, and that's just the pure truth. Unfortunately, that is the day and age that we're living in. Your best bet right now is to make sure that an adult is always with them, if they are young or if they are older teens. If you can't make it yourself, please assign another parent or two adults to go out and just walk along to ensure these children's safety. Even though they are 12, 11, 14, they're still children. They're still children. And unfortunately, we're living in a day and time when many teenagers take advantage of each other. There are bullies out there, people who are willing to cause problems, especially on a night like Halloween. Parents, this is also a very important safety tip, and I can't express this enough. I want you to seriously look at and consider the type of costume that you're picking out or that your child is picking out to wear during this dark, spooky night. Make sure that, first of all, it's fireproof or treated with some fire retardant. And also, it should have some laminated parts, some illuminating parts of this costume so that they are not totally in the dark, or carry a flashlight and keep it on while walking so that any driver, anyone in the neighborhood, will know a child is nearby. And if they're wearing a mask of any kind, make sure that the eye holes are large enough for them to have good peripheral vision so that not only can they see ahead of them, like tunnel vision, but that they can see to the side. Very important that they have clear, unobstructed vision. You should also know what other activities your child may be attending. If they're attending parties, school functions, going to a mall function, going to somebody else's home, make sure that you get the itinerary, where they're going to be, the address, who's there that's going to be in charge, the phone number, and make sure that if it's going to be with some other friends that you've met the parents. How many times do we not do this? Well, Johnny's over with Mary Bell and Mary Beth, and I guess it's their mom and dad going to be there. I'm not sure. I've never met them. I mean, that's not safe. Make sure that you meet the parents. Make sure that you have also set a time that your kids should be home. Make sure that they know how important it is for them to be home on time. Whether they're young adults, teenagers, or just little kids, they need to be in the home, in the house, at a specific given time. Not let to roam the neighborhoods at will, unescorted, with no deadline, no time to come back home, because that's where they're going to get in trouble. You've heard idle hands cause problems. Kids are going to be kids. It's just that simple. Explain to all of them, regardless of their ages, the difference between tricks and vandalism. Tricks and vandalism. We all want to have good times. I had a good time when I was a child on Halloween. Even as I was growing up, it was still something that we celebrated, even though I realized later on in life the true meaning of Halloween. Growing up, that was something I looked forward to, as most kids do. But remember, throwing eggs and rolling houses and playing stupid pranks, that's not fun.